A great place to work from a management viewpoint is a place where you achieve your organizational objectives with employees who give their personal best and work together as a team or family, all in an environment of trust. Now, how do you build trust? How do you build trust? The way that we've sort of tried to understand this is look what happens. What happens in the really great workplaces? What do they do that seems to build trust? One of the things that you could look at is what happens on the first day. That's probably the most crucial time, in terms of your relationship with the new employee. What happens on the first day? What happens in most places on the first day? I'm not saying this happens in your place, but a lot of places, if not most places, the new employee gets a bunch of forms to fill out. They're shown where their desk is. They're shown where the bathroom is. They're shown how to turn on the computer. And they're giving whatever training it is to get working on the job. I mean, some variation of that, right? Okay. What happens at Starbucks, just as an example? The Starbucks, a barista, what do? They make coffee, pretty simple job, right? So what do? What you'd think, or what I thought before I went to their first day orientation, is what you'd think that they do on the first day on the job is they learn how to make coffee. No. The first day, they call it the Starbucks experience. And what's the first activity? It's coffee tasting. And they have, I don't know if you've ever heard or seen or done wine tasting, but it's very similar. They give you a bunch of these little cups of coffee, and you learn about, how you smell it and taste it and blah, 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 blah. I mean, after an hour of learning all this and how you call it and the different things about you on your tongue, this, that, after an hour, the people feel, hey, this is cool. I'm sort of like becoming an expert in coffee. And then they have some videos about the Starbucks experience, about what they want to create and so on. At the end of the day, they haven't learned anything about how to make coffee. But what they've done is that they've brought them into the family. And they don't call them employees in Starbucks, they call them partners. See? They're creating a different work environment. Another company, just first day, okay? I'm not sure they're still doing this, but a couple years ago I visited a company called Interbank in Peru. And what they do on their first day is they have a group of employees that come in, and the employees are told, let's say it's a group of, let's say, 25 people. They say, okay, the next 2 days, what you're going to do is you're going to develop, you're going to write a play and present it on the third day to the management team. Now think about that. Whoa. And they do it. I talk to the employees there, and this, it's really quite an experience. I mean, a lot of people are shy. I mean, being on stage in front of a whole lot of people, all this sort of thing. Oh, wow. Now, why do they do that? Well, they feel that one of the most important things is that they want their employees who deal with the customers, they're on stage. They want them to feel that they are comfortable dealing with the public. They don't want to have just sort of everybody with the green eye shades back there. They want to have a different environment. See? But what does that do to the people? That makes them feel like, oh, wow, I can do a whole lot of things besides just push paper, even though I work for a bank. It's not just the first day that's different. It's many things. I mean, like at Intuit, which is a software manufacturer, they have failure parties. When they have software and things that don't work, then they have a party to celebrate it. See, this happens. I know in Korea, I've had prejudices about Korea. I thought it'd be very bureaucratic and so on. Well, the maker of one of the biggest makers of flat screen TVs is Samsung. It's one of their subsidiaries called Samsung SDI. Well, the CEO of this rather large company, he sends personal birthday cards to every employee on their birthdays. And when they have company picnics, he's the chef, and he does that. Okay. Now, what is it that's going on here? What I'd say is that, remember, the question I said is, how do you create trust? And I say you create trust by going above and beyond. You take some kind of risk. You do something that's, in fact, you could say it's somewhat gift-like. That what you hear, these different examples I'm giving, they're doing more than they have to do. And I've coined a word that I call gift work. And this is what I say is this is the key to creating trust, is gift work is when it's an interaction in the workplace where an employee or a manager gives more than is expected or required for the sake of the organization or the relationship. Now that sounds very general, but what happens is when more is given, when you do more, you hit something that's very deep in the human psyche, that what we believe is that most of our transactions with people are very commodity-like. They're very much like a transaction where it's sort of tit for tat. Or you think about the workplace in general. You think that's more like it's basically time for money. The employee gives his time, her time, and they get money and benefits in return. And if you think about it that way, see, like if the first day on the job, if what happens when you come in, the first day of the job, you're given a bunch of forms and shown where the bathroom is, see, they're basically telling you, we bought your time, we're going to treat you like a commodity. Okay? See, that's the mentality. The examples I gave of the first day at Starbucks, for instance, that's a completely different thing. We're treating you like a human being. See, when you are treated that way, it's sort of like being given a gift. What do you do in return when you're given a gift? Well, if it's a real gift, you have to be able to refuse it, right? It can't be manipulated. It can't be you give a gift in order to get something. But what may happen is you may create an environment where people feel they can give back. And that's what happens in great workplaces.